Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Coffee with the Pastors. I'm Pastor Joe.
Pastor Cliff, good morning.
And we are finally back together. Let's see, we've had trips to Egypt, we've had sickness.
Kamichi,
We were out in Oklahoma for a trip. Then I had a sick wife once. It's been a wild few times here. But we are actually back together, drinking coffee together, what we really do very best.
Yes.
So we're coming to you from the Henry Aaron studio. Read a great quote the other day. It was actually from another athlete. I think it was maybe, I don't know if it was Walter Payton. You can look the quote up. But basically the quote said this: if you're good, you have to tell everybody about yourself. If you're great, everybody will tell you. And Hank Aaron was one of those guys that never talked about himself. In fact, he's probably not the superstar legend like some of these other guys, because he never went around talking about Henry Aaron. He just went back to work and just kept hitting
every day,
40 home runs and and 3,000 hits and the whole show. But it's a pretty good model for all of us. So yeah, we're here to honor him because one of the greatest ball players ever, certainly in our lifetime. Cliff, tell them who our sponsor is.
Our sponsor is the Beautiful Gate Coffee Shop. Miss Corey is the proprietor, owner of it. It's a great place. It's the most unique coffee shop I've ever been in. Coffee shops are popping up all over the place and they have one motif after the other one. This is just simply a place that you can go in by yourself or with a group. You can have a Bible study, you can have quiet time. She has several different international rooms. And the most wonderful thing about it is when you drink the great coffee or the Egyptian tea, eat the sandwiches, profits from her store goes all over the world to support missions. This young lady has not only traveled, but she sends. You take a look at the map, and when you go in, get the triple pig. This is my friend here's favorite dish, and but go in and say hello to her. Great place, Joe.
Great place. This month the mission is foster children. So again, and you can't go wrong because every bit of profit goes to change something in the kingdom every month. So this month you'll be supporting foster children. So we are in Psalm 39. Yeah. We're sorry that we had to run a few reruns, and we'll try to do better. But people get sick and life happens, and so Psalm 39, David writes. And it starts off by saying, I will watch my ways and I will keep my tongue from sin. That's probably all we need. You can read the rest of the psalm. You could probably just spend the whole time right there.
David didn't drive on 40, did he?
I don't know if he had a chariot problem out there in Jerusalem or not, but James talks about the tongue in great lengths. Cliff, why don't you talk about James and then set this thing up?
Yeah, James, in fact, we've been teaching James in the Bible study class that we have out at Margaritaville. James is just simply talking about the key to a successful Christian life comes through the tongue. He talks about how little it is, but how it can steer the course of life. There's great things to be learned from it. Your opening statement about Henry Aaron, I was sitting there while you were talking, fits everything this is talking about. David is talking about how do you get in trouble with your tongue. And basically most people think it's one of two ways. One way is that he got in trouble and God's eyes were on him. He was under heavenly scrutiny for sin in his life, something he had done, and he was feeling the heat of the glaze of God. Others feel like that maybe he was doing some complaining, maybe in front of people who didn't have a relationship with the Lord. It could be some people who did, but that conversation did not go well. And God is trying to teach him we need to watch out what we say, where we say it, and who we say it in front of. And that's basically what kicks this psalm off.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that a little bit. I'm convinced that probably about 80% of the poor things we talk about don't need to be talked about at all.
Probably.
They need to be prayed about, and just keep your mouth shut. But of the 20% that perhaps you do need to talk about, because, and I'll just tell you, I mean, the pressure that you're under here as pastors that we live with, you've got to have an outlet.
Exactly.
Well, my outlet is Cliff. My outlet is some other pastors. My outlet is my wife. But I don't tell her a whole lot because I don't want her to carry that burden either. But you don't want to play this out in public. You don't want to play it out at church. You don't want to bleed all over the church or all over your organization or over your family. And so you've got to pick your. Sometimes hard things have got to be said. You got to get some of the frustration out, but you need to find the right place to do that. And in a public forum is never the place.
No. Back in the day, there was a saying, you don't let your dirty laundry out. And that basically, as a child, children, if you want to know about home life sometime, ask little children 6 and under questions about their home life. You'll find out things mom and dad didn't want to know. And it's probably because mom and dad have said some things in front of their children that they shouldn't. They were venting. One of the old jokes is these parents had the new pastor over for dinner, and she had fried chicken, obviously in the South, and little Johnny would say, "Please pass the buzzard," and the mother would be embarrassed and say, "Look, it's not buzzard, it's chicken, behave." He'd eat that. "Please pass the buzzard." The mother was very embarrassed and frustrated. She said, "Where do you get this buzzard from?" She said, "Well, I heard Daddy say the other night, if we had to have the old buzzard over for dinner, let's do it on Sunday." So again, you have to watch
I like that.
what you say when you say it.
Yeah. And again, the old thing is that in public especially, but I mean, this should be in general. What we say with our tongue should be encouraging, uplifting. Does it need to be said? And I don't care how big the organization is, your church is, your family is, the tongue will just bring it down.
Yeah.
Because somebody's going to say something stupid or something angry, and you're better to walk off. Now, is there a time for confrontation? Of course there is. But most of the time, we say things and then we regret having said them, and the tongue gets us into a whole lot of trouble.
I think David's trying God is trying to say to David, "Look, here I am. If you want to talk about something, you come to me and it's open. You simply come into my presence. I'm God, I'm your father, but you come in here and you say anything you want to with me. And when you finish your prayer, your conversation with me, then whatever's left over, whatever you think needs to be said, you do it in a manner that would glorify and bring honor and glory to me." Now, the one thing this doesn't mean is that you don't confront sin and you don't confront the abuses that are going on in the world. But there again, there is a time, a place, and a way to do that. You don't use the pulpit as a battering ram to run something that's a personal observation. You simply present Scripture as it is, and Scripture does the
Well,
rest.
let me say the same thing even at home.
Yeah.
My wife hasn't said this to me for a while, but she has. I don't need to be preached at.
Yeah.
But there are still times when, I'll say things and I'll, didn't need to say that. There's a better way to say it. Or, honestly, as I get older, Cliff, and there's a lot of times I find out I don't need to say it at all, especially in family situations. In leadership, usually you got to say it. But again, the idea, you going to God, I think if we actually went to God with a lot of this, we could probably cut out 3/4 of the conversations that we think we have to have with other people. Because it starts off, "I will watch my ways."
Right.
Well, I mean, it's sort of like as Jesus talks about the guy that's got a board in his eye going to take the splinter out of the other man's eyes. If I'm watching my ways, there's so many things wrong with me. Now, running an organization, leading a church, there's a lot of things you got to do. You got to step up and make some tough decisions. But at the same time, you want to be a model. And that's what you see a lot in today's society. If the boss is stealing the business blind, or the boss is sleeping with 3 women at the business, and the boss has no integrity, the boss doesn't come to work, you're not going to have any respect. You haven't earned the right to talk to your employees.
Exactly.
And that's what sadly happened. People think because of a position they've earned a right instead of the. In fact, I saw a graph that I really liked. It said what people think leadership is, and it showed a full circle of power.
Right.
And then he broke it down, and 80% of leadership was integrity.
Integrity, exactly.
And integrity is, again, not talking about people, being yourself at work, treating people right. And I just thought that was very interesting. Then there was these other things we have to develop. But
I think as leaders sometimes we forget that we are servants. We're a servant leader. And since I got off the ark with Noah and the gang, I found out.
That must have been cool.
Oh, it was. It was a little smelly, but
see the bird come back with the twig.
It was a great trip. Very steady boat. I've learned when I serve people, and really do it because I feel like that's what I need to do. It's my job as a leader to bring out the best in our people, acknowledge it, encourage them. That's how you lead people. People will follow you. Even when you have to be critical, there's a way to criticize what's going on. But when you serve and people serve you, you get into an environment, well, like you. I can go into your office and say something, and you've earned the right in my life to come back with the truth at me, whether I went in there wanting to hear it or not. We have chosen and given each person that right, but it's earned, and it's through serving people. I really think that there was something really on David's mind here. I think he blew it by saying something at the wrong time, because he said, I remained utterly silent, not even saying anything good. He just had his mouth shut. But anguish increased, heart grew hot, I meditate, the fire burned, then I spoke with my tongue. But he said, show me, Lord. When he finally spoke, he spoke to the Lord. And I think he was under the scrutiny of God, because he said, show me my life's sin.
Yeah.
It's like, is all of this going to be worth it? Job, several places in Job asked the same question. We know the story of Job. Everything was happening to Job. He had some supposed friends that would come down, and when they left, they're the type of people, when those people leave, you just want to go jump off of a cliff somewhere. But he kept saying to God, show me my life's end. Not that he wanted to die. I think it's like, is this worth it? What's going to happen down here?
Yeah. And again, there's so many, most of you are church members that we're talking to, and there's so many just petty. I don't care how important you think it is. If you step back and look at it, it's pretty petty, the stuff that we debate about, argue about. If it were the Bible, that would be different.
Right.
If it was really biblical issues, but it's usually little petty things that have happened, and we let those grow and manifest. And again, show me the end of my life, Lord. Does this really matter? So by the time we get to the end of the psalm, David started off, watch my ways, keep my tongue. I held it in. I got angry. Then I unloaded. Then he says, hear my prayer, Lord. Yeah. Listen to my cry for help. Don't be deaf to my weeping. So he's gone from angry to crying before God. Look away from me that I may rejoice before I depart and am no more. So again, he's examined his life to the point that he says, you know what, I don't want to be in conflict with you. I want to be right with you so I can enjoy life and rejoice on the way out of here.
That's the whole thing with self-examination. Sometimes it's kind of bad, but at the same time, when you are sincerely going before God, and the issue is not somebody else, the issue is, Lord, me. The problems that are having are starting with me. Most issues between people is not the issue that they're arguing about. The issue is the war that each of them are fighting within. And David finishes this psalm wanting to end that conflict within himself. Because you know, when you walk out of the house in the morning angry, you're going to be angry all day till you deal with it. And dealing with ourselves really takes some subjection. It takes us being submitted to God. It takes us being able to see the hard things in our life that we don't want to see. But it always ends up, God, even when we feel the pressure from God, he's simply trying to build us up into who he created us to be. End of note.
So keep short accounts.
Yeah.
If there are issues, then deal with them. But try to look at it in the long run. When I stand before God, is this story going to matter?
Yeah.
And if it's really not that important, how about letting a few things just go?
Yeah.
You don't have to win every battle. I think that's maybe what I've learned as I've gotten older.
Exactly.
Because strategically, I'd much rather win the war
Exactly.
and lose some battles along the way and compromise. And now there are things worth stopping and fighting for, but a lot of times, and it's not usually doctrine stuff or Bible stuff.
Right.
It's personal.
Yeah.
And if personally this is a problem, then I don't need to offend this person because I can work around that.
Yeah.
And interpersonal relationships are certainly the most difficult thing that any of us deal with.
And this is, God's original plan for us in sending his son to the cross for our salvation was that we become examples of what it is to have a relationship with God. Jesus no longer walks, so we can't see him, but Jesus' plan was, my followers will be able to be seen by the world and be an example, a pattern of what it means to turn your life over to God. So just simply turn over stuff.
So if you've been blessed, hit like,
Yep.
follow, share, whatever, do your thing there. But I think if I was going to preach this, I'd go back to the beginning and I would say, okay, I'm going to watch my ways and I'm going to keep my tongue from sin. Lord, what areas of my life are out of control that I got to fix right now? Is it my tongue? Is it my eyes? Is it my money? And Lord, help me get that under control right now. And make a list of those things as you watch your ways. That's where I'd go.
God bless you. Have a great week. We'll see you.
Merry Christmas early.
Merry Christmas.